it is not often that I have guests come on via Zoom or internet. I normally have my guests sitting like right here next to me. But on the rare occasions that I do have guests come online, they already know that it's a big deal. They already know that it's something special. And man, tonight is no different. The guest I have for all you homies tonight is one of the OGs, one of my A1s, like one of my boys from way back in the day. I mean, this man has been pimping since been pimping to quote Cat Williams. One of my longest homeboys who I don't get to see or speak to enough, and also one of the coolest nerds that you'll ever have the pleasure to meet. My brother Taim, welcome to the podcast, bro.
Yo, bro, that intro is, I don't even know what to say about that. That's crazy, bro. That's how you really feel?
Yeah.
That's how you really feel, bro.
Come on, man.
That's what's up. No, man. Yeah. I'm Tame. I am the third OG homie, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Man, me and Cool back a couple decades, huh? Like
shit, yeah.
And I'm
a couple decades.
I'm 32. I'm 32, so that's like my whole life down there. So yeah, man. Yeah, even though I may be on the internet today, I've spent many a night, many a day, many a meal at Q's house. So you know,
like if only people knew, like the the amount of time we used to spend when we were kids, like playing video games. Talking about comic book scenarios. One in particular I remember. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I don't know how it came about. We were like young teenagers at the time, and we had this weird conversation. I say weird, it was hilarious. This conversation about what it would be like if Wolverine and Ghost Rider got high. And it was And I think that this needs exploration because this is a great question. You know, like now we're older, we're more established, and
we've smoked weed. I think at this point in our lives, so I think we both know. Back then we didn't know shit about shit, so we were like, "What if they got high?" You know. Now we're like, we've actually smoked weed now, so maybe we know a little bit more about what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's also like we also know more about these characters, and I'm like. Could either of them really get high? And if so, for how long?
The facts. So I should first premise this by saying, when I say OG, I mean I was every nerd group has that who would win guy. Mm-hmm. I was who would win guy. I'd be the nigga going to the Chinese restaurant with you at 3 a.m. being like, "You guys, who would win between Dr. Doom and Namor?" Like I was that nigga.
and you know what? The great thing about you was also like the aggravating thing about you. It would be like no matter who I said, you would always play devil's advocate, and I'm like, there's just no winning. I got it. Don't matter what I say.
If you swap sides and to the other side, I'm like, all right, but listen, here's what's okay. Here's your point, but listen to this. Think about this, and I will have you guys know to this day I'm the exact same way. I'll do that shit forever, bro. I'll message this man and be like, so who would win between? Right. And he'll give his opinion. I'll be like, but listen, actually thinking about it now,
it's the same way even today.
It's the same way. I'm the same way, but it's true though. But I think we could explore Wolverine and Ghost Rider getting high for sure. If you want to get into that, look, we can definitely get into that.
Oh no, I mean, you know what? Dare I say, there are more pressing things to discuss than the stone nature of a man already possessed with a super powerful dark entity, and another man who has a healing factor that probably doesn't even allow him to catch a cold. So
the fact that he gets drunk is phenomenal. Like I don't know how that shit happens. He must be.
He's got to be throwing them back. You know what I mean?
100 proof, just straight out the bottle. Like he must be.
Like 100% distilled vodka. Like no, there's no water in that at all. Just
out the bottle, straight bottle. Like he must be no chaser at all.
Right.
How he gets drunk is a mystery to me. But you're right. There are more important things. We'll table the conversation for the weed. For later.
So
Yeah, man.
So let me start off by kind of having this discussion here, and that is, let's have the discussion of superhero movies now versus superhero movies when we were kids. So back when we were growing up, we had like the Daredevil movies with Ben Affleck, and we had the old school X-Men movies. It was some of them anyway. We, we had Ghost Rider. Speaking of him, the Nick Cage flicks.
Oh, I forgot. Man, that memory I repressed. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I repressed the memory. So deep.
And then we also even had movies like Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
Okay.
And like the more you learn, the more you grow up, the more you realize that is a wild miscast.
Yeah, no. Yeah. First off, American. Start there.
Oh, yeah, right there. Yeah. Already they fucked up getting an American.
Yeah. Wrong. Yeah, just wrong.
And you compare it with superhero movies of today. Now we live in a world where the MCU is all the craze, where you're not looked at as a weirdo if you say that you love superheroes, because now everybody does.
Yeah.
I mean, so many people love this stuff, and I joke about this a lot, but in reality, I don't like the gatekeep. You know what I mean? Like everybody is welcome. But there is like almost like a badge of honor, because I look at so many of these newer nerds who embrace like the cultural zeitgeist of it all, and I think to myself, man, y'all don't know how good you have it here. Like, yeah, we definitely can and do complain about bad superhero movies today, but if you knew what we went through back in the day, you wouldn't complain as much.
Are we them people now, bro?
We them people now. Bro,
damn.
I remember when millennials used to be the young people, and now we
old now. We the next boomers, bro. That's crazy that we're the ones now being like, if only you knew how good you have it now.
That's us.
That's crazy. Cause I remember, just on the same note, real quick before I get into my opinion, I remember my mom talking to me about like the X-Men, like the early '90s X-Men cartoon. When the movies came out, when the live action joints with Hugh Jackman came out, and she was like, "Wow, like I remember I used to watch this cartoon every morning, and like look how cool this is," and talking about how that's all that she really had was like that cartoon. As far as like comic books goes, that's all that she really had was like more than cartoons, and that was it. And I was like, she was like, "You guys really are lucky," and I was like, "This movie was not great."
Right.
And the years go on, I'm like, wow, even worse. But no, I think my opinion about movies now versus movies back in the day, yeah, man, truly the first thought is like, yeah, these kids they really don't know how rough it was. But I will say this, I think that back then in them old movies, they seem to try to stick more to like the plot of the story, like the 1-to-1 translation from comic book to movie, which is I think why it was so rough. Like it's hard to digest and like looked a little wonky sometimes. And of course, technology wasn't the same, so like people looked like the Thing in the Fantastic Four movies looked crazy. Yeah. He's wearing a styrofoam.
Looked like Michael Chiklis covered in styrofoam rocks. Yeah.
Look crazy, absolutely nuts. But I think movies today, conversely, have much better technology. But as we've seen from an old head perspective, give less and less of a fuck about the actual story, the 1-to-1 comparison. So you'll get a Thor Ragnarok that is like,
no, yeah, bro. Listen, we don't even need to. We don't need to.
That's not on that. So, but which makes for a more entertaining movie, right? Like a more easy digestible movie,
right?
But it's so far away from the original source material that like it's basically its own thing, exactly. At this point.
And that's pretty much a surmise. That's a nice summarization of what Kevin and I have been saying about Ragnarok for the past 5 years. Uh, but that does kind of, perfectly lead into like another topic here, man, and that is people like you and I. We are superhero nerds to a level that most people aren't ready to bring it to. You know what I mean? So it's it's like if you and I were to have a conversation with someone and say that, hey, we really like superheroes and comic books. Most people, even the person I had a conversation with today, even just earlier today, say, "Oh man, me too, man. I really like the MCU," and I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so I know where to take the conversation.
I know where you're at.
Yeah.
Where to stop? I know where to stop at.
Yes, I know where to stop at. Exactly. But then it got me thinking also just about the fact that how these movies are structured. They are structured for the roughly 70% of the audience who don't know their source material, who don't read their comic books. Now the other 30% are people like you and I and Kevin and some of the other homies who are freaking the podcast.
Yeah.
We're the other 30%. We're the minority. We're the ones who know. We're the ones who watched Avengers and knew who the big purple guy in the chair is.
Immediately. Yeah.
We're the ones who were like, oh shit, the Thanos. Okay, I mean that was us, and we were those guys. And sometimes, because we review all the superhero movies here on this podcast, as well as the comic books, and as well as doing things like preparing the homies, the listeners, for like things to come. Okay, so who was King of the Conqueror? This is who he is, and this is what he's about, and this is what he's done. But the thing that I always have to remember is that but right now it's mostly like the MCU. They so often will take liberties where they think the audience is ignorant, but every day there's more and more people like you and I, more and more people who have some kind of platform to inform the audience. And so we're seeing now that, and it takes some time to get that ball rolling, but now we're seeing that it's starting a little bit to bite the MCU, the fact that now their casual audience is becoming more smart.
Yeah. And I was talking to you about this the other day, or a while back when the show came out, but I was talking about She-Hulk and how as much as people didn't like that show, that is probably Marvel's most true to, like, so far, Marvel, the MCU's like true to one-to-one translation from how her comics actually were to show. Like, because she was fourth wall breaking, and she was like the first, actually, I think the first wall break in the comics. She was
way before Deadpool.
Her comics were very much just about her doing regular everyday shit and going to court. Like, it wasn't like a whole lot of extra shit. And so, like, her plot being very bland, it's kind of like, well, that's kind of how She-Hulk comics work.
Yeah.
But people didn't like that show. And it's like, well, that's the closest that Marvel's ever gotten so far to like a true, like one-to-one match.
But, where I really think the She-Hulk show messed up at, because you are right, they really tried to take a lot of cues from like that sensational She-Hulk era, which a lot of people, myself included, think is the best She-Hulk run to date in terms of comic books. And
yes,
so,
period.
Yeah, oh yeah. So it's very smart for them to try to adapt that. The issue is that it had all of the ingredients of the sensational She-Hulk comic book run, but it had none of the heart. It had none of the heart. And that's really where that show fell flat on its face. And where it didn't have heart, they just kind of put in the ingredients that they wanted to. And so even though it looked like the same thing, it became something completely different.
To your point, bro, 100%. That is Marvel's problem. That is, if we're going to get into a bigger conversation, now I'm going to concise for now.
Yeah.
That the lack of heart is 1,000% the MCU's entire issue currently, because they think that, from what I'm gathering, they think that the only options are funny or extremely sad.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, and I can already tell from the next Guardians trailer that just came out that it's going to be those two directions. There's not going to be a lot of middle ground where there's like growth. Like the first Guardians, I think did okay. Where like you watch Star-Lord sort of like grapple with his like mom's death and like the accepting of his new family. But this last one is very clearly going to be like, well, we've done a goofy movie in the middle. We've done a sort of like middle ground movie in the first. Let's just do a fucking sad movie. Yeah. You know? And I feel like shows included, same thing. You either have a She-Hulk, which is just goofy and has no heart whatsoever, or you have like a Moon Knight, which is trying to be so far the opposite direction that it just comes out wrong. Like he's like, this is not. And I liked Moon Knight. But again, the bar is so low that like it's
right.
You know what I'm saying?
The bar at this point is damn near on the ground. And you know, we can talk a little bit about Moon Knight here, and you know, there's certain things that I try to be really careful with how I word them, because I never want to come off as I never want to offend anybody, and I never want to come across as cold or callous, because I may joke, but I jest when I say certain things. But when it comes to like Moon Knight, I see what they're trying to do, and I appreciate the effort. You know, really, they were really trying to highlight, you know, mental health awareness, and really trying to display that, hey, just because you may have this disability does not make you less of a person. You're still a person who deserves equal treatment and deserves all of the rights and liberties that everyone else has.
Exactly. You can be a superhero if you have mental problems. Right. Like you know, which is a statement that needs to be said. Like, why are there not a whole lot of handicapped, you know, physically or mentally superheroes? And Moon Knight is one of the few who are.
Daredevil is clearly the most popular one who has like a physical disability.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's blind. Yeah,
I mean, he's clearly like, in terms of like all like the disabilities, he's got to be like the top tier A1 most popular one. But going back to
but he's interesting because his power directly counters his handicap.
Yeah,
he's not. Imagine if he, for example, didn't have legs, or like his legs didn't work. He's paraplegic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's not. And would his power then be that he's able to mentally move himself around?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Professor Xavier. So you're right. In this case, this man's mental handicap had absolutely really no bearing on his power. It changed how his power manifested, but like his power from the god didn't have anything to do with him being off. Right. You know what I mean?
I guess ultimately, though, my problem with Moon Knight was that I love the fact that they did apply that that messaging to the show. However, they completely threw away a very integral part of Mark Spector, which is the man is fucking crazy.
Yes. It didn't show to the last fucking 2 minutes of. And I don't know if it's spoilers. It's not really a spoiler, I guess.
Spoilers, by the way.
Anything else except for the fact that at the last 2 minutes of that show, in Limousine, if you know, you know, it was the only part of the show that they actually showed. Oh no, this man's insane. Like this man,
right?
Like, because his other personalities were like fairly well put together. I mean, one was like a mercenary and one was like a normal dude, so but fairly in their own right put together. But there's a third personality in there who is absolutely unhinged, and you never saw that fool to the last 120 seconds of that show.
And again, you know, people like you and I were like, okay, well, they're starting off with Mark Spector. Oh, not with Mark Spector, but they're starting off with which personality did they start off with primarily?
The normal guy, whichever his name was, the guy who worked at the museum. What's his name?
Stephen Grant. No, not Stephen Grant. Yeah. They start off with him, and then we get Mark Spector, which I thought that first episode to me was the best, because I thought they took some bold liberties that at least for episode 1, I thought they really, really worked. And I was like, oh, so Mark, instead of being the primary, he's being presented as the secondary, which is an interesting change. But, you know, people like you and I, we were wondering, where's Jake? Where's Jake? Yeah, where's Jake Lockley? And then, like
where's the Where's the mask? Because he's in there somewhere. Like,
Right. Yeah. And
you
so
know?
you're right. Up until like the last 2 minutes, we really don't get to see like that super unhinged, almost Punisher esque Moon Knight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because in the comics, I mean, Mark Spector is of course in the comics a lot. I mean, he's one of three, so he's there a lot of the time. But most of the time, when Moon Knight's doing the most, I would say, like cinematically impressive things, it's Jake. The things that when Moon Knight's taking the biggest hits, and when he's doing the most, like, and he's not super strong necessarily, but like he's like picking up cars off people, like that's Jake. That's not Mark.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to hide him to the end of the show, it really, actually, to your point, cut out a lot of what the draw to Moon Knight is. Like, not that you draw is like he's insane, but to take out a personality from a character who's known for having multiple personalities does cut the character's impact by a lot. Yeah.
To me, it would be like if the MCU, God forbid, if the MCU did Punisher, they would focus more on his severe PTSD and give us a message about that. And they would strip away the fact that the man is a goddamn psychopath because they don't want to vilify.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they don't want to vilify, PTSD survivors. And again, I get that, but you have to find that balance of adapting the character and keeping that integrity while also being like, okay, but here's also this messaging that this character can present,
Yeah. I mean, and to your point too, I think that, like, actually back to the question we asked before, which I kind of didn't really get into, but the one about movies then versus movies now. Here's a question for you. Which series or which character do you think that over the years from then to now, if they have lasted that long, has been the most well presented, or if you want to answer this way, the most true to character? So it's right. So go for it.
That is that's a tough one. But just off top, if I think about it, I probably have someone else come to mind. But just off top, I would probably have to say, Wolverine.
Wolverine.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, what Hugh Jackman did with the role, Hugh Jackman was so good, he could make you forget that Wolverine is not supposed to be this slim, 6 foot tall man.
Yeah, like 5'3".
Yeah, he's like 5'3". With the adamantium, he's 300 pounds. He is short and stocky.
Yep. But you forget, to your point, when Hugh Jackman's playing him, you almost forget that Hugh Jackman's like 6'3" or some shit. You're like, oh, he's
right.
Yeah.
And then it also
true.
It almost makes you wonder too, because if you go back to the year, technically 1999, Hugh Jackman was not the first person who they wanted. He was not their primary choice. He wasn't their second, their third, fourth. I don't think he was their fifth. Like,
dang.
And I'm like, oh shit. Imagine if they did actually cast Jack Nicholson at one point, or if they did cast Russell Crowe at one point.
Oh no. Hell no. No.
I'm like, that would not have worked. If they were bigger names, sure, but
sure.
Man, things fell into place so that you could do it. But to get more to your question though, man, you can definitely make the argument that for the first several X-Men movies, Hugh Jackman is just playing a varying degrees of angry Logan who doesn't have his memories and wants to get his memories back. That is kind of his arc for the first several movies. But really, it's when we get to the James Mangold movies. James Mangold is the guy who directed the Wolverine and Logan. He did both of those. It's really when he gets his hands on the character that something rare and spectacular begins to happen. James Mangold has stated he is not a fan of superhero movies. In the hands of a capable director who understands the assignment, we can get something great. in the hands of the people who are currently in charge of the MCU, they put out trash when they are not fans of the source material. But James Mangold is different because he's an artist.
Exactly. I couldn't have said it better, bro. I think that like my first thought when I asked the question, when I formulated it in my head was the X-Men. I think that, I mean, there are some flops in there, but traditionally, I think that the best from then to now representation of any group has been the X-Men. Now they've also been like they're like one of the oldest, mind you, thematically one of the oldest. But aside from the few flops like Apocalypse in the middle there, like I think that generally like most of those characters, Professor Xavier from the first movie to Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
It's almost like a one-to-one comic book, one-to-one cartoon version of Professor Xavier. Yeah. Now, I think that, what's the guy's name who played him in like First Class? I think he did.
James McAvoy. I think he did good too.
McAvoy. Yeah. He did fine. Yeah. He did fine for you. Because you don't see, in the comics, you don't see a whole lot of young Xavier anyway. So it's kind of new. It's kind of new territory. So he did fine. You could see that guy becoming old, bald Xavier. Right. So it's fine. Here's a question for you. Which one do you think is the worst from then to now?
Oh my goodness, the worst. Let me think. I mean, so this isn't fair, but I was gonna. I have mine already. Okay, so I got to cycle through a few here. So at first I was gonna say Catwoman.
You can rank them. Catwoman.
But to be fair, that Catwoman is not Selena Kyle. So
no,
I can't really.
Yeah. If you want to rank them, you can rank them. If you want to try to make the whole list, and we'll just put them.
Oh my god, that makes it even harder.
Never mind.
I will say this: Punisher, when Thomas Jane played him, he was good. I actually did not mind Thomas Jane in that 2004 Punisher movie.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
the one with Travolta or the one after the one before Travolta?
The one with Travolta.
With Travolta, yeah, that one was a true to form, I think.
Yeah,
very violent, very unhinged.
Right, yeah, very unhinged. Yeah. He was more in control than what we're used to with the Punisher, you know. Yeah. But he had that anger that turned into sadness, you know.
He was more John Wick than Punisher, but
he was.
But it was fine for what a movie a movie of the time could give.
Right. Now, I will sidebar us here just a little bit. About a year ago, Kevin and I, we did an episode to celebrate the Punisher. I think it was like his 48th anniversary or something like that.
Oh wow!
But to celebrate him, we sat down and we watched all 3 live action Punisher movies.
Nah.
And yeah, we did it. And yes, for those listening, there are 3, and you guys can go back and catch that episode. But there's the Thomas Jane one.
Go watch all 3 Punisher movies. Go.
Most of you guys know the Thomas Jane one. That's the best of the bunch, probably.
Oh yeah.
There's the Ray Stevenson Punisher movie, which has its quirks, but there's some good moments. And then there's the first
Kevin Nash in that one?
Huh?
Isn't Kevin Nash in that one?
Kevin Nash is the one with Thomas Jane.
You're right.
Yeah. And then there's the first Punisher movie that was made in like the late 80s, I want to say, with Dolph Lundgren.
Lord have mercy. My God today. Who greenlit that shit? Who was like, now we finished rapping. Look at this. And while editing was like, this is going to be so fire. Like, who thought that, bro? Fire that man.
Bro, the crazy thing about that movie is, you know that the Punisher logo is not in it. It's in one spot.
You lying.
The Punisher in that movie has throwing daggers, okay? And and on the head of the throwing dagger, you can see the skull. But that's the only place.
Oh my God. That is almost as big a travesty as the Baraka sword that Deadpool had in fucking Wolverine.
Oh my God. That hurt my heart. But to get back to your question, though, like, what's the biggest travesty that we've seen?
When I say this, bro, you're gonna be like, yeah. As a series, as a group.
Right.
The Fantastic Four. and I'm done, and that's it, and we're gonna move on. Like the Fantastic Four from then to now has not had a single banger, not one,
Not one. They had one that was kind of mid.
Yeah, they had one that was tolerable.
Yeah.
We could watch that and be like, "This is a movie.
This is a movie.
It's got superheroes in it.
Yep, it's got a beginning, a middle, and an end,
and a plot that involves heroes and villains." And
then there's the second one with the floating Galactus cloud,
bro,
which was atrocious.
Now, Silver Surfer had some cool effects.
Yeah,
we love it for him, but now we're going to discuss the third one.
Oh my goodness!
Dr. Doom is damn near just Dr. Manhattan.
Yes,
and he's an alien walking through the hallways, exploding heads by looking at people. Like bro.
That was the 2015 Fantastic Four movie, and
Michael B. Jordan was in it.
Michael B. Jordan was Human Torch. So to get back to your Dr. Doom point, here's what happened. Okay, so one of the screenwriters, he finished writing the script, and as he was putting the finishing touches on it, he said to his consultant, he says, "All right, what are Dr. Doom's powers?" And the consultant says, "Yes." And
no, he didn't. What are his powers? Yep. Those are the powers.
Yep.
Put them in there.
Yep.
Adam.
So what? He can make people's heads explode? Sure can.
Got it. He can lift people in the air with his mind. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Throw them around if you want. I don't.
Do you think it look cool? Put it in there. Fuck it.
No, I don't give a shit what you do. Have him not even be looking human. I don't give a shit if he walks out of that. If he walks out of that portal or whatever the fuck it was, looking like a whole transformer. Give me.
Oh
shit! My light. I'm laughing too hard. My light fell.
Shit!
It's true. The homeboy looked absolutely insane, and his powers were nowhere close to what Doom's powers remotely even are.
So, for future screenplay writers, this is a simplification. So don't kill me. But if you want to loosely understand Dr. Doom's powers, the man has the technology of Tony Stark, and he has the wizardry of a Doctor Strange. You can marry. Yeah, you can marry those however you like.
That's what it comes down to. That's it. Yeah. but they gave him psychic powers, and he was exploding heads like he was in, I don't know, bro.
He was like what's the name of that movie? He was like Carrie, like the horror movie, the Stephen King.
Dead ass. First off, could Doctor Strange survive in space? Well, they were in space, right? They went to space or something in some pocket.
Yeah, it was some pocket dimension world. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. It was so convoluted that you don't even know what the plot was. But when you see Doom, you're like, oh, this ain't Doom. Who is this? This must be someone else. This must be the Beyonder or something, because this ain't Doom.
Yeah. This has got to be like who is this?
And then, of course, and this is a small gripe, but the casting of Mr. Fantastic is in that movie. Did fine. The actor did fine.
Miles Teller, I really like Miles Teller.
He did for what he was given, fine. But casting him at all for Reed Richards,
it was a miscast.
It was a miscast.
Yeah.
Like he's smart, he did fine, but he ain't Reed Richards. Like
I think that everybody except for the actor who played the Thing was miscast. I think that they were all miscast. Except for the Thing.
He said Michael B. Jordan, fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah, and the Thing is mostly a CG construct. The Thing is also the only thing that looked decent in the movie. Except he didn't have no pants on. Put some pants. He was just walking around, rock dick all out.
Bro, if the Hulk can find some stretchy pants, bro, put some pants on.
I'm saying.
bro. Oh my, you're right. Though, but that's my answer for the franchise. The franchise that has been. I don't know if it's neglect. I don't know if it's like mistreatment or if it's just a struggle over rights or of copyright, whatever it is. Whatever it is, probably all those things. To be honest,
It is all those things. Yeah,
whatever it is. That franchise has not had not a single banger in its. So when people are like, "Oh, well, the Fantastic Four is coming to the MCU," my first thought is like, "We're not worried about the X-Men coming because X-Men has been like pretty good and pretty true for the last again like Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix."
Yeah.
Those were little flops. Even the flops weren't terrible; they just were bad for X-Men movies.
Yeah,
right. But I'm worried about X-Men. I'm hopeful. I'm glad that they're bringing in Fantastic Four because there's only up to go from them. They couldn't get any worse if they tried. So great.
The Fantastic Four, they've been cursed in live action since day one. Back in like the early 90s, they had they filmed and made an entire Fantastic Four movie. I'm talking like the thing had like the same technology that like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had for those early movies, where like there was somebody in the suit, but they had like an animatronic puppeteer for the head. Like they had that kind of technology for the thing.
That looks crazy, but
yeah.
Would have worked.
Yeah, I mean, you can go online and like find the still photos and even like some of the test footage they had. But they made the entire movie with the intention to never release it, so that movie never came out. They made that movie just to secure the rights of the Fantastic Four because what is it? They have to make a movie, I think, every 9 years or something like that to retain the rights.
Yeah.
And
that's petty Peter, bro.
Yeah.
That's petty as hell.
It's petty as fuck. Like, you're going to waste money making this whole ass movie to not release it.
Imagine the actors getting paid to do this shit and knowing they're going to ever see the light of day. Like, they're like, we're never getting royalties from this shit. It's never going to be.
It's like the Batgirl movie, but worse, you know?
Oh, damn. You're right. You're right. Oh, no one. My answer for... trying to give you my answer for the best one.
Yeah.
I did X-Men, but I'll give you another one. I think that generally, and there's only like one actual flop I can think of, but Batman, not the franchise Batman, because Batman's franchise has been all over the fucking place, but Batman the character in movies, I think has been generally pretty well handled. I think.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I think, but again, he is one of the oldest ones. But I do think that like the only one that like makes me go, huh, is like the Val Kilmer one. Or I was like, I don't know about these nipples. He was fine.
Well, the Val Kilmer one or the George Clooney one?
No, you're right. No, Val Kilmer's right. The George Clooney one was when I was like, this ain't it. Yeah. This ain't it. Like, I don't know what this is, but it ain't it.
Man,
if 2 + 4 and 4 is 8, what is this? Like,
because this math is not adding up. This math ain't mathing.
The math ain't mathing. So that's true. But I think that all the other ones, though, generally, I think were pretty true to a version of a comic book Batman you could find and would be pleased with. I think
you hit the nail on the head with that, and I think that you just crossed over into a barrier that like some people really struggle with, especially with Batman, because like Batman, I love so many of these comic book characters. Batman is my favorite. Like if I had to pick a favorite, it'd be him.
Clearly.
Yeah. Oh, I'm wearing the shirt right now even. But the thing about Batman that is so unique about him, as you just mentioned actually, is his versatility. There's so many different versions of Batman. There's Batman the superhero, the one who can go out and you know and fight these superpowered freaks like Clayface or Killer Croc or people like Poison Ivy, people like that. There's Batman the team member. So there's like the version of Batman who you see flying around or fighting with the Justice League or whatnot. There's Batman the vigilante. That's the version of Batman who he still he still isn't trusted by the law because he's working outside of the law, and so there's is he good or is he bad? There's Batman the detective, the one who goes around and solves crimes and whatnot. And the thing of it is,
and the one we haven't.
What's
what
that?
we haven't seen yet is Batman the Father.
Yeah, and which
Because
we're going to see. Yeah,
yeah,
So
because there's a whole section of Batman where he, not just to Damian, of course, but to the Bat
right.
family, like, is just their dad. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
he just trains with them, lives with them, goes out with them, and fights with them. Like, all of that,
Right.
which you really don't get to see. We never yet, anyway, haven't really seen that side of Batman.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
Well, have you heard the announcements about the upcoming DC movies?
No, I heard James Gunn
Yeah,
came in and just wiped the board clean. He was
and
like,
you
all
know
right,
what?
all this shit.
Yeah. I'm not mad at that. You gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet. But
Yeah.
I did me and another homie Caleb, we did like a whole episode breaking down the upcoming DC movies. James Gunn came out and made this whole big announcement. But obviously they're making the Batman 2, but that's going to be outside of like the shared universe.
Yeah.
But within the shared universe, they're making a movie called Brave and the Bold, and it is
okay.
it's a Batman movie, and the reference for it is let's see if I have it here.
Look at this man. Look, a whole shelf
I mean,
for Batman.
come on.
I don't know if you can see it, but this man has a whole
the reference here is the Grant Morrison Batman run.
Yeah.
And like when I heard that, I was like, oh, this could be good. This could be really good, especially since it's going to focus on Bruce and Damian. And I'm like, oh, I really like this. I like this a lot. Yeah. And so you're
because
right.
It's an era of Batman where all the other Robins are either established or dead, but they're established out of the house and doing their own thing, and as Nightwing and so on and so forth. And he gets to just kind of focus on his actual son, not blood son, I should say. And it's also not to be confused with any listeners, not to be confused with the animated show Brave and the Bold. That was also a thing that existed. It was a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
It's whatever, but
it wasn't the Batman animated TV show.
Correct. Yeah. It was not even close. That's the one where Joker didn't wear shoes and was had dreadlocks. One of them Batman shows had Joker.
I think it was Beyond, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was one of them. It was one of them cartoon shows where Joker didn't wear shoes and he had dreadlocks and he was like Blanca from Street Fighter. Yeah. It was crazy.
So with let's talk about this a little bit here, because you and I spoke a little bit about this movie over text message, but never actually spoke about this in person. What did you think of the Batman?
Oh man, okay, yeah. So given that it is detached from all the other Batman stuff, probably. And that's probably a hot take, but probably my favorite iteration of Batman so far.
I'm right there with you, actually.
I know Christian Bale. Everyone fucking nuts themselves over Christian Bale and his version of Batman, but Christian Bale was a fantastic Batman. Mm-hmm. I think that what's his Edward Cullen? That is the nigga's name from Twilight.
Robert Pattinson.
Robert Pattinson is a fantastic Bruce Wayne.
Oh, really?
Here's why I say that, because the time that outside of how to put this right, the emotions that Bruce is feeling in his normal life, you can see it when he's Batman.
Yeah.
And Christian Bale's, and when he was Bruce Wayne, he was just a billionaire philanthropist. He could have been RDJ as Iron Man when he was Bruce Wayne. At parties, you didn't really see the connection between the man and the bat. But in the Batman movie, for me anyway, he's depressed. Mm-hmm. He's going through shit emotionally and mentally. When he's talking to people, when he's talking to Catwoman, you can see that the same dude that is out of the suit is the same dude that is now in the suit and having this conversation. Right. And that's what I'm saying. I think that that transition is fantastic in the movie, whereas in the other ones they're very detached. Like when you saw Bruce Wayne, you didn't really feel like you knew he was Batman, but he wasn't doing anything Batman-esque.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
I thought that they were. Because I also love the Nolan trilogy. Yeah,
of course.
But I'm right there with you with the Batman. I thought the movie was I thought that I can say this now after seeing the movie a few more times. I think that it is my favorite Batman movie, and I think it's one of the best pieces of cinema to come out in the past 10 years.
Period.
I mean, and
Hands down.
but you know what? This actually, I think, sets us up perfectly for another conversation I wanted to have with you, and that is like over the past 5 or so years that this podcast has been going. You know, I've been able to learn a lot more about these characters and these stories, sure, but I learned a lot more about like myself and really like about critical thinking and forming opinions. And one thing that I've been able to learn is that it's almost a pointless venture asking somebody if they liked something or not. So like, for example, I know a lot of people who didn't care for the Batman or didn't think it was that good, you know, whereas you and I, we love that. What I learned over the years, though, is that it's a much more useful and effective tool to instead ask them, what were your expectations for this movie? And that goes for any movie. You know, so like, what are your expectations? Because if you can establish what someone's expectations are, you may find that, okay, you're looking for something different than what I'm looking for. And that's where our disconnect is. And I think that that's a much more effective way to have that kind of conversation.
It's true, and then you can also find why they're upset a lot faster. Like if you go into a Batman movie and you're like, you know, you're looking for him to be a suave billionaire, then the Batman ain't for you.
You're gonna be disappointed
because he ain't suave enough in part of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think that like the reason why, for me, the Batman is one of the best ones is. I'll give you a big example. You know how RDJ at Iron Man was?
Yeah.
He didn't seem more suave out the suit than he did in the suit. He was Tony Stark all the time, right?
Right.
However, I think Christian Bale did seem more reserved and suave out the suit than he did when in the suit. And Robert Pattinson seemed like the same nerd, the same depressed emo kid, emo adult the entire time.
I do expect him to learn to put on the facade to wear
eventually
the mask.
I do. Yeah, which I think at the end of the movie, to the point of that, I think that the entire movie was that learning process.
Yeah.
You know, because the whole monologue at the end where he's like in the water with the people and he's talking about the guy's like, you know, I'm vengeance. And he was like, oh shit, well if you're vengeance, what the fuck am I?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so I think that was the whole learning process of the facade and like what it means to be the Batman is that movie. And so I think it's the next movie. I expect him to be a little more adjusted, right?
Yeah.
But that's, again, to the expectations point, that is what I expect. Now, if our next movie comes out and he's the same unadjusted emo nerd, I'm gonna be like, what?
Right. Because you're right, like he learned so much about himself in that movie. Because we have to remember, this is Batman Year 2. And you know, for you comic book nerds, that means that this takes place around the same time chronologically as The Long Halloween. The Long Halloween story is technically around Batman in like his second or third year being the Dark Knight. And so he's still learning a lot there. But I'm with you on that. Like I didn't mind at all not seeing that facade in the Batman. But for the sequel, I think that maybe he needs to progress a little bit. I'm not saying relinquish some of that anger because that anger makes him Batman, but he does need to learn how to shape it a little bit more just to put on that facade, to really wear that mask because he doesn't have that Bruce Wayne mask yet, you know?
No.
Right now and
maybe to the point, he doesn't have to have it currently because he's not really public
facing. He ain't out there.
You know,
he ain't really out there.
Not yet. But I know that people are all about and it's hard for me, man, because going into the conversations about Batman, you know, I hold him in high regard as a character, but it's hard to have conversations with like quote unquote normal people because to them the Christian Bale Batman is the be all end all of Batman stories.
Well, I think he's great. I think those movies are great.
Yeah, because he had a cool tank and Heath Ledger was the Joker, and it's like, yes, but there's nuance that you're missing that could make this movie better for you if you understand the nuance. But then I realized that, to your point earlier, most people don't give a fuck about the nuance.
Right.
Most normal folks, audience members, don't care about the full nuance of this comic book character. They're like, I'm here to see a movie.
Yeah.
Christian Bale seems like a great guy to me. So,
right.
So, and that's it. Whereas when you think about like the whole relationship between Talia al Ghul and Batman that took place in the Christian Bale movie, and we know, as comic book homies know, the very in-depth story that's there that they did not touch at all, and then she betrayed him. We're like, what? Hold up.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there were a bunch of thinly veiled, quote unquote, secrets that just didn't work in the third movie, in The Dark Knight Rises. Like we all knew it from a mile away. That's Talia al Ghul, whatever fake name she's giving you. And we also kind of predicted Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going to be some kind of Robin, didn't he?
Period. Yeah. And also not to get too much time on my activism bag. I could, but I'm gonna do it today. But I feel like the Mexican community was a little robbed. I'm not gonna lie, because Bane, Mexican community.
You're right.
There are so few high threat banger villains and heroes that are Hispanic. Bane is damn near like top 2, like you know what I'm saying? And they made him, I don't know what country he's supposed to even be from, bro, but it wasn't anywhere in South America. you know what I'm saying?
I really like The Dark Knight Rises, and I know a lot of people don't, but even I can admit the movie has several flaws, which is another thing I've learned to do over the years is to separate something that I can look at something and say I like this, but I also acknowledge its problems. Whereas a lot of people, if they like something, they have a hard time.
It has no problems. Yeah, it's true.
But Rises has a lot of flaws in it. I mean, and there's a lot of even plot holes in it, which for me is the most disappointing part, because if Nolan is good at one thing, it is telling a suspenseful story with a satisfying conclusion. And for some reason, Rises, it didn't hit that mark. I'm like, so where is the Lazarus Pit here? The Lazarus Pit doubled as the prison where Bane grows up at. And I'm like, I'm not even mad at that, really. Like you throw people in this prison, this unescapable prison. But where is it?
It's a giant pit, if you will.
Yeah, but where the fuck is it?
Where is A, fuck to that. B, where is the juices? Where is the actual liquids?
There is no Bane formula or anything like that. How did you get? I mean, okay, I know how you got out. How did you get back to Gotham? How long did it take you to get back there?
Did you walk from whatever country, insert country that you were in?
Right. And then there's the biggest Batman-esque question: how did you escape the nuke at the end? And there's a lot of theories he didn't escape the nuke, and I'm not doing that. No.
We're gonna get into that. Yeah, we're gonna get into that. He survived. He's Batman. He's fine.
Yeah. But to your point though, you're right. I really enjoy Tom Hardy, and I like Tom Hardy's performance in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you're right. You know what? It should have been the right call to cast Bane as a Latin American or a Latin person. Yeah,
Homeboy literally has like a couple things going for him.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He's a swole ass luchador.
He's a swole ass luchador, and I think that like if the part of the whole back-breaking thing is because it's a wrestling move.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He didn't just break Batman's back because he could just do it. Like, I mean, lots of people are super strong, and can just break him. He did that because it is a wrestling move, and he is a wrestler. Which, to be fair, here's my childhood thought growing up. I was like, Batman probably didn't. He trained in all martial arts, but wrestling isn't necessarily a martial art.
Yeah,
it is one, but it's not.
Well, it's like wrestling. Coming from me, this would be interesting. But wrestling wrestling is an art form. I would not call it a martial art, though.
Right, you wouldn't normally kill someone by wrestling them.
Yeah. Like if somebody tried to attack me, if someone tried to attack me, I wouldn't try to lock up with them. I'm not going to do a collar elbow tie up. I'm not going to go.
You put them in the headlock.
I'm not gonna go for the arm wringer and then the hip toss. Like,
right. So the whole thing of Batman being beat by Bane is probably because, like, my thought was always as a kid, like, well, he probably didn't train with any like wrestlers. Because Ra's al Ghul wasn't getting on the ground with you. He wasn't about to. He wasn't about to put you in the philosophy. That's not going to happen,
right? Could you imagine? The figure for a leg lock hurts like a motherfucker. By the way, for those of you who don't know, it hurts. I've always liked the premise also of like of the whole idea of Bane and how he works because. Going back to wrestling, like there's this ideology in wrestling, right, of good booking, which is basically good storytelling. Okay.
Yeah.
And like the perfect kind of storytelling is when both the babyface, who's the good guy, and the heel, who's the bad guy, where both of them look good, even though one of them has to lose. And the original Bane and Batman story is that Bane puts Batman unknowingly through this gauntlet where Batman is fighting through basically waves of henchmen, and Batman is exhausted, and then Bane jumps down, and Bane has the venom, and Bane is all hulked up, and this is like Bane's first appearance, really, and so when he gets a hold of Batman, Batman doesn't look weak for losing to Bane because he just went through all that bullshit, and now he's fighting this super roided up luchador. But Bane looks like $1,000,000 because this newcomer just broke the Bat's back.
Period. Yeah. It wasn't, and it didn't happen in some dusty underground dungeon either. Like that should happen in like the main square. Like people were in the movie, Bane broke back like in the sub basement of like the broken up Bat cave. But in the comic book, that did not happen. It was not that secret.
Yeah. But you know what? Though I'm not gonna lie, man. That is one of my favorite scenes from that movie.
Oh yeah.
It's an amazing scene. And even like the audio of it, there's no music playing. For this big action scene, there's no music. All you hear is like fist on flesh. There's water dripping. And you hear grunts, mostly from Batman, and the hopelessness of his situation.
Getting his ass clapped.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! Imagine doing like your special finishing move and then not budging the enemy HP bar at all. Like that's.
He hit with the ultimate move, and the boss is just done. Or...
That's how it was. Because Batman was like, okay, I can't run the fair one with Bane. I can't do the 1v1 with this nigga. So I'm gonna go into the shadows. This is my move. I'm gonna fade away into the darkness. Motherfucker will never see me coming. And that's when I was born in the darkness. You think the darkness is your ally. I was born in the darkness, molded the body. By the time I saw it, I was already a man, but there was in there blinding. And he reaches out, pulls Batman from the fucking shadows, and Batman was like, hold up. Wait a minute. Time out.
Wait a minute. Something wrong.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Straight up, bro. That's true. That's a fantastic scene, man. And the expectation thing, I think back to the managing of one's expected outcomes is we as comic book people have to go into these movies, are forced almost to go into these movies, dropping our expectations at the door. We're like, we have to, we because of casting, because of rights, because of studios, because of whatever licensing, whatever the problem is that happens in the background, we know there is going to be a certain amount of bullshit that's about to take place in front of me, and I'm going to have to just let that shit ride. Like, and I think that we generally have a threshold, usually, for movies.
There is a threshold. Like, we can let only so much go before we're like, all right, enough is enough,
Yeah. And I think that in the movies, when movies are below the threshold, we thought, like, oh, wow, this was kind of like Logan, for example.
Yeah.
Went into Logan with, I didn't really know what to expect because, again, Logan, the only trailers were just action scenes. And so we really didn't know what was going to. We knew it was going to be Old Man Logan.
We also knew they didn't have the rights to use like the Hulk or Maestro. So we knew that we weren't going to see that.
It's like, it's going to be something else. What is it? Who knows? We went into it not knowing, but what they ended up giving us for that story, for that, for that movie was fantastic for what they could work with.
It was,
you know,
it was beautiful. I mean, that's
yeah,
the
because
word
we
I can
didn't
use to
expect.
describe it.
I mean, we knew that Laura was probably that the girl in the trailers was probably Laura.
Yeah,
but we didn't really, I think, expect the story to revolve around her that much. I mean, I didn't. I speak for myself. I didn't expect going into it that the story would be about Wolverine protecting this girl. Only because I know from the comic book that like Laura don't really need no fucking protections.
right.
If we're keeping the whole fact, she don't need Logan to protect her. But from what it was, you get to see this older, almost like gentler, or even more matronly side of Logan that you don't really ever get to see, and him like living through his regrets because he never really needed to regret anything because he's going to live past everybody else. Right. So he's like, regrets, so you hear about him, but you don't really see him really like going through his life being like, damn, I'm about to die. Like this could be it for me.
Yeah.
And what has my life been?
Yeah.
You know, you get to see that in Logan, which is a fantastic just moment of character as established as Hugh Jackman's Wolverine has been. So yeah, I think it's fantastic, bro.
Same. I thought it was a beautiful send off, a wonderful movie, and again, that was directed by James Mangold. And
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was directed by James Mangold. And the reason why the movie worked so well, he also did I think it was the 2006 remake of 3:10 to Yuma, which is another Western movie. It's a remake of a classic Western movie, and he remade it with Christian Bale was in it, and I think Russell Crowe.
I do remember that. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
Fantastic Western movie, and what Logan is a neo-Western movie.
That's true.
Yeah, and it works wonderfully for it. I know you got to go, Taim, but there's just a couple more things I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, I got time, brother.
Okay,
I got time.
Good. So, one thing I want to talk to you about was like another pet peeve of mine that I see a lot of, and I don't mean this term discouragingly, but I do see a lot of casuals throwing this around here, and that is
casuals.
Fucking goddamn normies.
Yeah, damn normies. Can't live with them. Can't live without them.
Can't live with them. Can't live without them. Goddamn.
All right, what's up?
They like to throw around the term superhero genre a lot.
Oh my god.
And for me, superhero genre, okay, that is a blanket statement that could literally mean anything. Because like on my shelf right here, I have plenty of comic books behind me. And guess what? Some of these are action adventure. Some of these are sci-fi. Yeah. Some of these are horror. Some of these are westerns. Some of these are detective stories. Some of these are thrillers. So what the fuck do you mean when you say that a movie wasn't a superhero movie? Does it have a superhero in it? Then guess what it is? If it focuses on that superhero, it's a superhero movie.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So is your pet peeve then that the people who say it don't differentiate between horror? Is that kind of your pet peeve? Like they don't differentiate between the genres, or that they don't acknowledge it at all as a superhero movie?
Well, my pet peeve is that they'll watch a movie like Logan or The Batman, and they'll say, "Well, that wasn't really a superhero movie." And what they mean is that movie didn't have action, comedy, things go boom, CG. That's what they really mean.
Okay, I'm with you 100% on that. Then, yeah, because how to put this? I think Joker.
Yeah,
the movie Joker.
One, yeah.
The movie Joker, if you put any other name on that movie,
I've said that 1,000 times,
right?
Yeah.
Then it is a masterpiece. It is how okay it is anyway, but it would deserve all the awards it didn't get.
Change the name on it. Call it the frowning clown. Call it the tears of a clown.
Call it fucking whatever you call it, bro.
Yeah.
Whatever tears of a clown. Yeah, whatever you want to call it. Call it that. It deserves Oscars.
Change it from Gotham to Chicago.
The problem with Joker, to your point, is that it was touted as, named as a super villain movie, right?
Yeah.
But none of the shit that happened in that movie, right, was remotely super villainous, except for the very last thing at the very end where he shot Homeboy in the face, which, again, I wouldn't say that's super villainous because anybody with a gun could shoot somebody in the face. Right. Like, that's not... He gave a little speech and shot a guy in the face. That is not... That's super villainous, then I guess Scarface and any Tarantino movie, all of them niggas are superheroes too then. But,
all of them are super villains, that's right.
Super villains, I guess. I suppose so. But that's the thing I'm saying. Like when people say that the movie isn't... When people try to like spin that movie into how great it was because it was artsy and it wasn't really a super villain movie. And I was like, the problem with your statement though is that it's named Joker and therefore it was meant to be a super villain movie.
Right.
And that's why I have to knock it down some pegs because it wasn't the Joker.
So,
like it was a lot of things.
Yeah.
Art style was great. Cinematography was great. Music was fine. Like its plot was fine, but it wasn't the Joker.
This is one of those things it's a scathing hot take, but I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%. And man, let me tell you, I got flame broiled after Kevin and I reviewed the movie. You know what I mean? Because people didn't want to hear that. They just wanted to hear us gush about how phenomenal the movie was. And I'm like, it would have been a great Patreon episode if it was called something else. I said literally that, you know, it would have been great had it been called something else.
Shit.
But, you know,
here's the question. Here's the question for them. People that flame me when I talk about this. I said, would you have gone to see that movie with that trailer that you saw if the name wasn't Joker? Would you have showed up to watch a Joaquin Phoenix movie about just some dude with mental problems, right? That had 2 split seconds of a dude named Bruce Wayne in it as a child. If it was not named Joker, and the answer is always no. They went to go see it because it was named Joker. Therefore, you went to go see a supervillain movie.
Yeah.
It just turned out to be some other shit that wasn't that.
Right.
Yeah.
And this goes back to a discussion we had earlier about how the superhero movies, they are tailored for the 70%. They are tailored for the casual audience. They are not made for you and me, which is poetic irony at its finest. That the thing that we love, when it's adapted in another format, it is no longer for us. You know, if we like it, then that's great. But if we don't, oh well. You know.
Yeah, yeah, man. You hit a nail on the head on that one. Truly, it's truly one of those things like. And I'm about to hit somebody with an absolutely fucking flaming hot take, and they're about to roast me. I know your fans the homie's about to roast me, but it's like Eminem's music. That shit, the early Eminem music was not for rap. Is black people shit, right?
Right.
Eminem's rap when we got started about killing your mom and your girlfriend, and
you can't really relate to that. You know,
some shit that was not. The line, my bum is on your lips, my bum is on your lips.
Right.
And if you like it, maybe a little kid. It's some shit that we would never say. The shit was not for us.
Right.
But it was fire. It should rhymed. He had a rhyme scheme you never heard before.
Yeah.
We liked it.
Yeah.
We went with it. Right. He was one of the biggest rappers of all time now.
Oh,
right.
Undoubtedly.
But it wasn't for us.
Yeah.
And similarly with the comic book thing, like you're saying, when translated into different media, this no longer is really for the people who got this jumping. Like the people who want comic book movies,
right,
who yearn for this stuff to be made into like live action, big screen stuff. When it is, it's not really for us anymore.
Right.
you know?
It's a sad thing because like these movies cost millions of dollars to make, and you want to make them so that the most people come out and see them. And if that means making a movie for, you know, the grandmother and her 6 grandkids instead of the nerd who has his comic book, you're gonna go try to get the grandma and her 6 kids every time. You know,
every time.
Yeah,
that's 6 seats and that's 6 butts and seats.
Exactly.
Versus the one dude that might go and tell his friends who would be like, "Okay, glad you like that, man."
And I had one of my other homies on, Caleb, a few weeks ago, and he said, he said something like, but the sad truth of it is, like the lonely nerd, he's gonna come anyway, and it's true.
Mm,
Like, you and I, we'll go see these movies anyway, even if they're not made for us, just to see what they do. And so, regardless, they get our money, like they hear our disdain,
oh yeah,
but
or don't,
or don't, yeah.
or don't hear it, whatever. I mean, point in case, I watched Love and Thunder, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that. You know what?
I watched Ragnarok and then took my ass to go see Love and Thunder, and I'm just. It's the me living embodiment of your point, which is we can see Ragnarok and be like, this shit is not it, and then they'll be like, okay, well, people turned out for Love and Thunder. I mean, for Ragnarok, let's make this movie
right,
which will be further from the original, from the OG point,
even further. You know what's interesting about Love and Thunder, and I promise I have nothing else to say about Love and Thunder other than this.
it'll be a whole. Yeah, we'll be here 2 more hours. Like I feel for work.
but with Love and Thunder, they, like you just said, they doubled down on what they thought or assumed made Ragnarok this huge global success. Everybody, except for again us minority, other than us, everyone else seemed to just love Ragnarok, and so they doubled down on what made it, I guess, so quote unquote good. They doubled down on the humor and the banana peel slipping Thor, and all the things. Yeah, and guess what? This time around, the casuals did not like it. So what happens? A few weeks after the movie comes out, we see Chris Hemsworth. A shout out to him. And I hope he's doing well. He's having some health issues. Hope he's doing well. I heard
he was having some mental or like some worries, stresses about dementia or something. Dementia. But shout out to him, bro. Shout out to him. It's scary. It's scary shit.
It's some super scary shit. But he came out and he says, I really don't plan on making any more movies with these mad scientist directors. That's almost an exact quote. And he was referring to Taika Waititi.
Oh.
And
period.
Yeah, but
I enjoy talking movies, but that wasn't it.
It wasn't it, right? It wasn't it. And my thing is this, though. I'm glad that Chris Hemsworth said that, but I wonder if he would have said that if the casuals said they loved it.
Yeah. I don't know, because homeboy, if everything had went off well and it had been a smash, super success.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has the Henry Cavill in him,
right?
To say, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I'm not doing this.
That's a great use of Henry Cavill, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just because he so far is the only one I can think, actor that caliber, who is willing to, not just willing, but stands on. Like, I am not doing this shit with people who don't care about the source material. Like, I'm just not doing it.
Yeah. Man, shout out to you, man, because I guarantee you 99 other actors would be like, oh, just trust us, guys. We're going to come around and this is going to be the greatest season of television ever. Henry's like, fuck y'all, I'm out. Care. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing. That's the beauty of getting not just directors that know source material or are avid fans, but when actors themselves are like us, like when they are comic book readers and video game enjoyers and material investors, I think that Henry Cavill's case, even the story about him almost being late for Superman interview or Superman audition because he was playing World of Warcraft.
Yeah, he's playing WoW.
He's a massive built dude who likes the source materials of nerdy shit. Like that is. And so when you have an actor like that, who's willing to be like, I like Geralt, but this whole situation is wrong because the books is wrong. I mean, it's not in the books. It's not this way in the games, and standing on that, I think is what we don't see a whole lot, like very often.
Yeah.
And I wish we would, because honestly, imagine how good things would be. I mean, there are a few select IPs I think that are better off without that, like Star Wars. Mm-hmm. If every actor in Star Wars was a hardcore Star Wars fan,
Yeah, well,
that shit would be like 17 years long, and I wouldn't have time to watch it. Like, because Star Wars fans go hard. Them niggas be in the comments going like,
man, but not to go off on Star Wars, but they need to do something. Because
no, yeah,
you know, like because what they're doing right now isn't working.
But here's my point, though.
Yeah,
is because I think a lot of what Star Wars is doing currently is just a recycling of what they've already done. Like the last sequel trilogy was, if you could almost 1-to-1 compare them to the original trilogy.
But
like it's
to bring this around full circle, you're right. But those movies had no heart.
Yeah. Well, and to the point, I think the problem with that is that the original trilogy wasn't even meant to be a trilogy. George Lucas had said it before, where he made the first movie, and that was going to be it. And then people were like, "This is pretty great. Make more." He's like, "Okay." And so he made 2 other movies that just like he had to connect to the first one some kind of way, which is why you got Death Star #2. And so you kind of, if they're remaking or they're rehashing something that wasn't even meant to be a trilogy in the first place. And so it's like you'd have to either inject some heart into it somewhere that the original didn't have, or do something new.
I think that the originals, I think the originals had plenty of heart, and most of the heart bled through the characters. We had like plenty of strong protagonists. When I say strong, I mean they felt like people. They were actually fleshed out characters with character traits and flaws and personalities. The new characters that we got, I hate all of them. I think they're all fucking awful in that sequel trilogy.
To that point, here's what I would say. Times change, right? The issue is we're trying to make, I guess my point was this, you're trying to make a story with the writing and character development of the 70s fit this character and writing development of the 2000s. And that's just not going to work. Like there, in no instance have I been able to see a movie. I'll use like Dracula, right? If you were to try to take Bram Stoker's OG Dracula movie with Nosferatu and make that shit, and make that with today's young, like 20-year-old actors, it would feel wrong. It would come out terrible because it's not. You have to make a Van Helsing. You have to make What We Do in the Shadows, because it's not. You can't do that the same way today. It's not gonna.
But you can't imitate heart or passion, and you can't. And if you don't have the opposite of having a character is having a caricature. And that's the worst.
Ooh, yeah.
And that's how. And I mean, I know a lot of people get triggered by this term, and I hate to do it, but like that's how you get characters like Ray Palpatine.
Ray Star Wars.
I was gonna say Ray Skywalker. I was like, that ain't right either. That's you get characters like Ray, and Ray is a Mary Sue. I mean, she can do it all. She's perfect. Why? And I guess in my mind, I'm like, you guys don't understand the harm that does for the little girls who want to look up to Ray. Now they got to be fucking perfect and born with superpowers in order to be special.
That's the problem. That's what we're talking about. That's kind of the issues I was talking about before, is that Ray is a copy of Luke. Except
look at how Luke failed. Luke failed plenty of times.
Luke wasn't going to ever get any more explanation than that first movie.
Right.
So Luke came into the story. Gary Stu had powers from his dad. At that point, unnamed father. This old dude fought within the war. Right, had a cool lightsaber, had a cool laser sword. That was the whole. He's like, oh, I have these powers. I can learn how to move shit with my mind. Right, very Gary Stu shit. But that was going to be it. That was going to be like a one-off thing.
Well, here's the difference.
Luke then got like through a course of 6 more movies, a long list of backstory.
That's true. Yeah.
So they went through in grueling detail how Luke got the powers that he got. It wasn't just some shit where like he woke up one day and was like, well, my dad was an old army vet in the fucking war with his clothes. You know what I'm saying? His dad was like the man,
Right.
in the galaxy, right? And so, but Ray didn't get that. All she got was one day she was on the planet. She got powers somehow. She could do shit with him somehow. And it turns out that the power she got came from her grandfather, who happens to be the nigga that Luke's dad shoulda, we thought, killed
Yeah.
a century ago. Damn near, like not a century, but a long time ago. You know what I'm saying? So I think the problem is that unless you're going to give Ray 6 movies of backstory to explain how the fuck that happened, because Palpatine has, first off, Palpatine has kids? Huh? What woman? Well, what woman saw Palpatine's crusty ass, grunged up ass, lightning ass face and was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna lay down with this.
I've only bothered to watch Rise of Skywalker one time, so I don't even know if that's the case. If Palpatine reproduced,
oh, maybe not.
Yeah, but you know,
he must have, because he had a daughter who had a child. So
yeah, shit, fuck, I
raised his granddaughter, so he must have had a kid with somebody. But the question is, unless you're gonna give Ray again the same treatment where you give her 6 movies and side shows to explain how this happened, she's Mary Sue.
I think my pushback on that would be, it's not that Luke, it's not that like he went from 0 character development and then he did gradually build up more and more backstory.
He trained with right. Jedi masters, the 2 left.
But yeah. But the thing about Luke is that like even in that first movie, we see Luke fuck up. We see him progress and we see him get better all in that first movie. Okay, so we see that character growth just in that one movie, just in like the OG Star Wars. And Luke, he's not fixing the ship. That would be, if Millennium Falcon needed fixing, that'd probably be Chewie or maybe Han.
For sure.
Yeah, Luke's not piloting the ship. That would definitely be Han. Luke's not trying to be the diplomat. That would be Leia. In the sequel trilogy, Rey does all of that. Like she is everything in just that first movie, and it only gets worse as it goes on. Imagine this. Imagine if Luke fought Vader, right? And in the very first Star Wars, if he fought Vader in that very first Star Wars movie, and they fought to an even standstill, that shit would not sit right. And that and in The Last Jedi, that's exactly what Rey does. She fights the big bad villain to a standstill, and I'm like, why should I be invested in a villain who, like, there's nothing there for her to overcome? She's already there, you know. And where there is no hero's journey, I have no interest.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. I guess, but I guess, and this isn't pushback at all. I'm just adding on to your point. Is that if Luke had been the one to work on the ship too, and then they later on show that Anakin was working on pod racers, Anakin was working on C-3PO. He built shit from the ground up, and Luke was also working with the same shit in his workshop at his house.
Right.
We'd be like, okay, it's literally in his DNA. Cause like his dad worked on shit, he worked on shit. It's not that far away from like what his father would do. Yeah. It makes sense. Rey was a scavenger. She took shit apart further. She put them together. She took shit apart. How she knew how to, I mean, I guess you could reverse engineer something if you knew how to do it, but she had never seen the Millennium Falcon before, and therefore would have no idea how to do that shit. That's just like changing the tire. This is something simple like all ships need a tire change or something like that. But you know what I mean? Like,
you know, after that movie came out, what was that that first one called? Not The Last Jedi, not Rise of Skywalker. It was Force Awakens. After Force Awakens came out, Kevin and I came up with the saying, "May the plot be with you," because that is now how the Force operates. It just whatever the plot needs it to do.
I think that generally what could have worked with that movie is if they made an actual 1-to-1 where the first movie, like The Force Awakens, was a beginning to end movie.
Yeah.
Like the first movie of Star Wars was. Yeah. At beginning to end, Luke was found, they booped Death Star, beginning to end. happened. And then after that, they added on some other shit like, okay, well, here's the continuing story of after the original hero journey. Could have been fine. They decided to make Rey a Mary Sue because she needed to do all of the shit the entire series. Yeah.
You say something that I think is kind of going to tie perfectly into like the next thing I want to talk to you about, and that is, John Boyega. I think he's not even come out and said that. Plans were changed, like for his character in the movie. Like you watch the trailers for The Force Awakens, and one reason I got excited was, I'm not gonna lie, it'd be pretty damn cool to see another Black Jedi.
Period. And one of two.
But as much as Hollywood wants to try to pretend to cater to black people, they couldn't resist. They couldn't resist the urge of that white woman. And
because pandering goes two directions. It goes women and black people. But several women, queer people, black people. Like the stretched thin. Pandering.
In terms of pandering, like they are really stretched thin here.
Plain, couldn't just make it a queer black woman. Like, that would just be a travesty. Yeah, it would cover all the things at once, but it'd be a travesty. Right. So let's make it.
But what I wanted to talk to you about was from one black nerd to another. How did you feel about Marvel's decision concerning the Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther situation? How did you feel about how they progressed? How did you feel about Wakanda Forever?
It's the movie. It's the movie and all things surrounding the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, I should start by saying that I think if we read the comics, we all know that Shuri has been Black Panther for a hot ass minute now. She's not. If not, that's not new.
Right.
So it seemed like an easy alley-oop for them to then make the next Black Panther just a Shuri Black Panther movie, because she is Black Panther in the comics, or has been for a long ass time. Now, I think that my issue with that whole situation is that the whole movie didn't need to be sad. Now, it's my problem with Marvel, bro, is that they go two directions. It's either goofy as shit or sad as shit. And the whole movie did not need to be, it would have felt like one long ass funeral. Like, it felt like 3 hours of all the characters. It'd be different if, like, some of the characters were like, oh shit, that's really fucked up. We need to focus. We need to. All of the characters were fucked up the entire time like, about his death. Now, I do understand that it was in the world. It was very recent that it happened, right? But even the nigga who, up to then, had not given a single fuck about, what's his name? Duke, what's his name? Character?
M'Baku.
Winston's character? Yeah. M'Baku? Yeah. M'Baku didn't give a singular fuck about T'Challa in his entire career as Black Panther. Like, not, except for the challenge him for the throne. And now suddenly it's like, listen, your mom wanted me to come over and talk to you. Like, your mom said to be sad about this shit, so. Which had he said that? Had he said that outright, I'd be like, oh, this is great. Like, because then if you true to character, he's like, yeah, mom said I have to be sad about the death of T'Challa. So what are you going to do? But he's now suddenly being like her advisor. I was like, who? First off, starting from this point, Man-Ape, terrible name, but that's the name of the character.
I'm glad. I'm glad they chose to not use that name. I'm not mad at them just calling him M'Baku.
Yeah. No, totally cool with M'Baku. Good with that. But he's a whole anti-villain.
He is. Well, they breezed right over that whole thing. You know?
they just said anti what? Or, nah, how about anti that role in this movie? Like, that's like asking Venom to be sad at Peter Parker's funeral. Like that.
Right.
sure, he would feel something, but but why would the symbiote be like, oh no,
Yeah, like
Peter Parker's dead?
the only reason that Eddie Brock would bother to console Mary Jane is because he's trying to get in her. He's trying to fuck her. That would be the only reason why Eddie Brock would be like, "I know you're sad, Mary Jane, and this is a terrible travesty."
Come over to my house. We'll talk about it for a long time. Like, you know. Why would he give a shit? And so here we are at the funeral. I mean, again, I guess that's my whole thing is that the whole movie, even Namor, who like they softened Namor, and I'm not. Listen, I understand that you have to make this anti-villain because that's what anti-hero because that's what Namor is too. You have to make him digestible to the audience,
right.
Because if Namor came out here like he does in the comics.
Oh, they'd have been fucked.
Yeah.
Well, Wakanda would have been turbo fucked.
Not just Wakanda.
and you gave the fucking vibranium. Oh
Namor
shit!
would have said that on America the first time he found that bullshit in the ocean, digging up his shit, and he'd been like, "Oh." He would have took it to Wakanda, been like, "Wakanda, help me fight help me." That's not what he said ever.
That man never meaning them words.
Nah, what is that, bro? Namor is the Illuminati who told them fools, absolutely not. I'm not helping none of y'all niggas who done this shit. They were like, hey, help us, unite everybody. He was like, no.
No, yeah. Well, I will say this, like, in terms of the comic books, I do like the fact that when they first formed the Illuminati, they wanted T'Challa in it, and T'Challa was like, y'all white boys are crazy.
Yeah,
this shit is not gonna work. Your secret society will not work. And
the irony though.
I know. As I'm getting at the irony of
your secret society.
Yeah.
Secret society won't work.
Right. Your secret society.
You.
Right.
You're the whole secret nation. What the fuck you talking about?
But I guess he's never plotting events that could change the world.
No.
Yeah.
No, he's only doing quantum shit.
But I love like I love like just for lack of better terms like the niggerdom of T'Challa.
The niggerdom, yeah.
Because he was like, because he was like, this ain't none of my business, but y'all shouldn't be doing none of this shit here. And he was like,
my black business.
Yeah,
I'm about to go.
Yeah, I'm about to leave. All right, and
just keep my nation out of that shit and do whatever you want to do. Like I don't know. But yeah, no. I guess to wrap it up, it truly just felt like 3 hours of how sad can we be about Chadwick Boseman's death. Even to the point where Namor being softened up was also sad. He was also like, my people, like I gotta listen. We've been through hard shit, and like we're in danger. Like that's not Namor's personality at all. His homeboy would have been like Imperious Rex, and we're taking down the Capitol. Like it'd have been, it would have been that. But from the beginning to the end, even at the end of the movie where the credits are rolling, and she's sad because she met her nephew. Spoilers, whatever. It's not really spoilers. That's not important at all. But credits are rolling. She's met her nephew. Lupita named her kid T'Challa 2 or some shit, and she's crying by the fire. And I was just like, man, how sad are we supposed to be? This is. I don't know. That's just how I felt about it in my initial watch. I don't know that I liked that it was the focus. To answer your question, I don't really feel like that it was the focus of the entire movie. That like everything had to revolve around his death. It seemed a little, I'm a macabre almost, but also just a little unnecessary.
There's several things in the movie and about the movie that I just have a disdain for.
Oh damn! Say more. Say more things.
Yeah. So, first and foremost, you were dead on about your statements about Shuri. In the comic books, she does become Black Panther.
Yeah.
T'Challa is still there as another Black Panther.
Yes. Valid. He's still alive.
Yeah, he's still alive. But I also have to say this, and that is, even Chadwick Boseman's brother has said Chadwick wouldn't want the role to die with him. And I think that I'm not gonna say that this is intentional. I'm not gonna say that Marvel is this cruel, but I loathe the idea of combining Chadwick with the character T'Challa in terms of when you and I posed this question to the homies when Kevin and I did the review for Wakanda Forever. But when you're consoling, or when you're feeling sad in the movie, really think about this: who are you feeling sad for? Are you feeling sad for the character T'Challa or Chadwick Boseman? Because the way that the movie is presented, it
you're right.
It wants you to think that those two are one and the same person. That Chadwick is nothing more than T'Challa. And so because Chadwick's dead, there can never be another. Even though we're in this multiversal universe phase now, there can never be another. I think
she did name her son T'Challa. Lupita named her kid T'Challa too. So
I don't give a single solitary fuck about that kid. That kid can go kick fucking rocks made of vibranium for all I give two shits about. And I repeat again, fuck that kid in particular. I do not care. But I think that fuck them kids. I think that T'Challa is too important of a character for Marvel to just be like, oh well, the actor who played him's dead. Meanwhile, they go and recast General Ross when the actor who played him passed away. So I'm like, okay, all right, Marvel. So it gets harder for me to not believe that they purposely conflated T'Challa with Chadwick to make them feel like the same person. I think that was dirty as fuck.
Interesting. I didn't even consider the fact that I was feeling sad for Chadwick's death. I guess some other thing too is that I think that this might be and this is a hot take. Mm-hmm. This is a hot, not fully formed take. So please tell me, do not flame me for this. But I'm just saying, I think that this might be the first instance where a director is too close too personally close to the source, to the material. I think in this case, it felt like him and the actors and the writers were all a little too close to having to, maybe if he'd passed away and then they'd taken a year or two to make, once they'd all sort of dealt with the death and then make a movie based off of what they're feeling at that point, maybe. But it felt a lot like maybe during the beginnings of the movie creation, Chadwick died, and then they just kept making the movie, being fully grieving themselves.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And maybe just a little too close to the material to make this. I think there has to be some sort of professional distance, I think, between your personal feelings and the material. So yes, of course, Moore and your friend. I assume they're friends. I don't even know. They were close. Yeah. So Moore and your friend, of course, but then professionally make a movie for the audience who didn't know him the way that you know him, and couldn't have known him because we didn't meet him.
Right.
Yeah, I can see your point about Charles still, Charles not being there. I guess my thought would be, my question would be, how would you have done it? How would you then would you have had Charles be off screen and alive, but somewhere else, and came back a different person? Or would you have just recast him and then be like, all right, even though, that he had, how would you have done it?
Well, seeing as I'm not a filmmaker or a screenplay writer.
Yeah. Absolutely not.
Yeah. but
top of your head, now.
Yeah, I think I definitely would have done one of those two things.
Or rather, here's what I ask a different question. What would you have rather seen done? Let's ask that question.
Yeah. I think I would have, if they want to kill off this universe's T'Challa, because this universe's T'Challa, you can make a strong argument is too heavily tied to Chadwick. Okay.
Yeah.
Marvel literally just introduced the whole concept of there being a multiverse,
infinite
other worlds.
Never mind, you're right.
And we also just saw No Way Home, where guess what? Peter Parker does not look like Peter Parker in every universe. So
you're right. You're absolutely right.
there are a litany of reasons or ways for T'Challa from another universe to wind up here.
So we're kind of saying the same thing. I think if they had taken time to really see what the next step should be, they could have probably came to the conclusion where, like you're saying, a T'Challa from a different universe during the rip, because it's kind of implying that Doctor Strange changed shit all over the world because T'Challa would have also known that Peter Parker is Peter Parker, but Peter Parker is Spider-Man. We skipped over that though. But like, what do you know? I guess he would have. He's smart. He figured it out.
But, I guess if he wanted to, he could have. I don't know if he would have cared.
He probably would. We wouldn't have cared. But I'm saying, like, it's one of the things where Strange's spells happening and affecting everyone all over the world, all over the multiverse. Why couldn't it also affected parts of Wakanda? It could have.
Yeah, it could have. Yeah,
they could have, because magic doesn't give a fuck about Wakandan
right technology
barriers. Right? Yeah. So you're absolutely correct. That makes the most sense. I don't know why they didn't do that, but they didn't do it because they were too close to it. That's my opinion. But yeah, it just felt like a drag. I left depressed.
Yeah, and I agree with you on that too. But there's one thing I wanted to touch on, and that is you talk about how Ryan Coogler, the director, may have been too close to it. There was an interview, and if I can find the link, I'll put it in the show notes. But there was an interview with Ryan Coogler where he spoke about this, and this interview came out a few months ago. So it was like after the movie had already came out, and according to Ryan Coogler, he wanted to recast T'Challa because he also felt that is what Chadwick wanted. Well, see, never mind then. He was on the right track. Yeah. And when I found this out, I was like, no shit. I was kind of stunned. The reason why he did not recast T'Challa is because of two people, Kevin Feige and Victoria Alonso. Now the homies know this name because I have mentioned this woman's name like she is fucking Candyman. Okay. No. Victoria Alonso. If she continues to assume power, she will be the end of the MCU. I've said that several times and I don't say it lightly. She's terrible. She's terrible. So she's basically, Kevin Feige is like the producer at Marvel. He's like the top guy. His right hand person is Victoria Alonso. And if you look in the credits for the recent MCU movies, you will see her name. Her name popped up front and center at the end of Quantumania, so that should tell you, homie, something about that. But her fingerprints were also all over Wakanda Forever as well. And, damn, I didn't know that. Yeah, and they did not want to recast T'Challa, and I'm not gonna say a lot of, but there were decent chunks of the premise that did come from Victoria. And I've given this example before, and I give it again just in case you guys maybe missed it, and also for you, Taim. And that is, if you wanted to know a little bit about where her mind is at, she doesn't know a goddamn thing about comic books, not a single solitary thing about comic books at all. Oh man, she don't know shit about comic books. She don't know. She don't know a goddamn thing. Oh no! And on top of that. And in an interview she did, and this was shortly after the merger was done, right? Or this maybe about like a year after the merger was done with the Fox Studios, and so MCU now has the rights to all the characters and whatnot. She was asked about, okay, so what are your plans for the X-Men? And she was like, it's funny, I did a little bit of research, and there's actually quite a few women in the X-Men. And I really don't feel like that name is inclusive enough. I feel like that's an antiquated name, the X-Men. You better not. Bro. Not. I can't make this shit up. I can't make Is she not aware of the most minuscule, not minuscule, of the most like obvious fact, and that X-Men is like stands for like the X gene in humanity. Yeah. So it's like humanity, like mankind. It's like there is man, there is woman, there is X-Man. There's an X chromosome. She probably thinks the X stands for Xavier. That's probably what she thinks.
He said, one small step for man. Women work at NASA too.
Right.
That's too exclusive for me. One small step for people.
Oh shit!
I cannot, bro. Oh my god!
I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if like the first quote unquote X-Men movie we get is called like The Mutants or something like that.
It'll be called X-Force, but it won't be about the X-Force. It'll be called X-Force. We'll all go to the movie theater being like, "Oh, the X-Force movie? Fuck yeah, first one!" And then we'll be there and be like, "Oh wait, this is just the X-Men.
This is just the X-Men, but they're not called."
And Deadpool.
Yeah,
this is the X-Men and Deadpool, which is not the same.
So imagining taking a multi-billion-dollar alley-oop and missing it, because the X-Men prints money already. They've already made billions. Under Fox, they made billions.
Mm-hmm.
In the hands of the MCU, they should make multiple billions.
At least. But they're already established brand in people's houses, like it's a household name.
Exactly.
I'm calling it now. If it comes out that the first X movie is called X-Force and Laura is leading the team, because she does, and Laura is leading the team, I'm not going to. I'm going to go see it, but I'm going to plan the whole time. Yeah. I'll be back on the podcast. Be like, this book. Team being like Laura, Storm, Domino.
Just a hodgepodge of people who never really, team up together.
Not really.
Just a random assortment. Oh my goodness.
Because that's how. Not to get too far into this rant. That's how Civil War felt. That's how Civil War. I recently went back and read the Civil War graphic novels, just because they're my favorite. To answer your question about earlier, before what my favorite comics were. My favorite stretch of any event in Marvel has been the first Civil War. Second Civil War.
The second one sucks balls, but I love the first one.
Yeah, because that was the first time I truly felt. I always kind of like known that the comic books were like intertwining each other's stories, and they kind of had. They were, you could go to New York and see Spider-Man and She-Hulk and Punisher, but like that was the first one that actually felt like the entire world was actually affected by the decisions happening in one place. So like every group had their own book. Some of them had a couple. Like Spider-Man had 2, X-Men had 3 or 4, Wolverine had 1, and X-Men had 1, and Next World had 1. And I think that like She-Hulk had 1. So I think everybody had their own book, and it truly felt like. You got to see the full scope and scale of like how the Marvel Universe sort of operates,
right? Just based off of that, in a crisis. It even affected like the cosmic universe in Marvel Comics.
Oh yeah,
because this was taking place also during like Annihilation, and Richard Rider Nova, he tried to call Earth for help. Hey guys, there's this universe-threatening. Menace out here, Annihilus, and this annihilation wave. This is big ass war. We need all the help we can get. We know that a lot of you Avengers are on Earth, and they're like, "No, dog, we got the Civil War going right now. We can't.
We are about to get arrested,
right? And
go to jail. We can't do that."
And I love that because Nova was like, "Man, fuck y'all." And
as he should have been. As he should have been. Like, fuck you mean we fighting each other?
Like there won't be a goddamn Earth to fight on if y'all don't come out here and help me.
Yeah, period. And I think that's what I'm saying. I think that's what's. And so when you go from that to then watching how the movie Civil War was, which I almost wish wasn't named again with like Joker. I wish it was named Captain America. Pick a side. Captain America, choose a team. Captain America shirts versus skins. I don't know, something, bro. Like because the scale was lost, the scope was lost. There was like 7 heroes in the whole thing. Like the biggest fight was the fight at the airport, which was a cool fight scene, but like did not compare at all to any of the fight scenes that happened in the story of Civil War. Like not even kind of a little bit. Like there wasn't enough people in the MCU at the time, enough like rights owned to even have that scale of a movie, and therefore it's kind of a wasted IP. Like they kind of because Namor isn't it now. Yeah. Namor was a huge part of the story of Civil War. He literally came in with the wave at the end to help them beat back Iron Man's team. So like
Right.
but like in the movie, he wasn't even around because they didn't write to him. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I just wish it was that they wouldn't make these movies until they had the resources enough to make them what they should be. Because it's not that we don't. It's not that we. Or I, myself. It's not that I need it to be a entire arc like the Thanos
Right.
Infinity Stones arc. I don't need it to be all that. But if we're gonna make a movie and name it something that is a book, has a story start to end, at least let it be that story. You know what I'm saying?
Man, so I like the Civil War movie. I don't love it.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's not even the scale that bothers me, because I was like, okay, I get it. You guys fast track Civil War because at that time they heard that WB was doing a Batman versus Superman movie, and they wanted to make sure they had a heavy hitter that would be on equal, footing. So okay, you wanna fast track Civil War. Okay, you know what? I'll give that to you guys, because in their defense, they already laid the groundwork for it in the previous Avengers movie. We knew that they were going to lead towards this. So I'm not even upset at the scale, because that would be like it would be a logistical nightmare for one thing to have all those characters on the screen at one time. It would maybe lessen the impact of Endgame when they did it. But the thing that bothered me the most about Civil War was the fact that at the end of the day, the movie wasn't about the Civil War. It was about Tony Stark being mad that Bucky killed his parents. And so the Sokovia Accords, or the Superhero Registration Act, that shit fell by the wayside, and we almost practically never hear about that again. And so I'm like, it's a battle of ideology.
Well, till that travesty of a show, the fucking Captain Falcon. And what's her face? That was when we heard about it again, and I wish we hadn't. So
everybody had high expectations, and everybody was let down.
And everybody was let down. It was boring. The first and foremost travesty of that show is that it was boring. Like, that's the first problem.
That is a cardinal sin.
Cardinal sin of a comic book movie. Superhero movie. It was boring. I don't want it.
It's also problematic that they introduced some fantastic concepts, but they never commit. And it's almost like they're either too afraid or they don't know how. So like, I forget what they called it. Like, what was it? Not the Reparations Act, but like it was some kind of act that happened in the Marvel universe where after the blip, resources were reallocated to the people who were remaining. But then when the people came back, those resources were taken away, and that's where Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers formed their terrorist group, because they had so much of their stuff taken from them again. And I'm like, this is a fantastic concept, a fantastic spin on Flag Smasher. I want to see what they do with this. It doesn't go anywhere. And the other thing is, and this other thing bugged me the most, and it was the thing about Elijah Bradley, the first black super soldier. And he does, this man, I don't know who the actor is, but he did a fantastic job.
He's great.
He did a great job of expositing that story in like, a 5-minute scene and telling it, this heartbreaking tale of how the first black super soldier came to be, how so many other black soldiers died in the process, and how after he was used by the government, they just threw him to the wayside. And fucking Sam Wilson was like, damn, man, that's fucked up. I'm going to go be Captain America now.
Like, did you not hear shit I just said? And you think after you do all the shit you're doing now, that they're going to be like, all right, buddy, good job. Here's a mansion, here's some money. Like, they're going to throw your ass away too, bro. What are you doing? What are you talking about? I mean, and that's kind of what I was saying about Civil War. It's not when I say scale, I don't necessarily just mean the amount of people on the screen necessarily. I mean the conversations that Tony Stark has with the president, the Punisher and Captain America conversations underground, when just shows up with broken up Spider-Man and then and tell Captain he kills people. Cap like beats his ass because Cap's like, you can't just go out murdering people just because it's, even if you are on the right side, you can't just murder who the fuck you want. Like, you know, like, that whole thing, that just all of that was just missing.
Yeah.
And because of your point, it wasn't about the war. It was about Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
But Iron Man, which everything low key is kind of been about Iron Man. That's how I feel. Man, the MCU for the last however long kind of felt like like a lot of shit.
Look at how long it took Peter Parker to get out of his shadow. I mean, in the MCU, it took Peter until No Way Home to finally crawl from underneath Tony Stark's shadow, because every time we've seen him, it's always been about Tony Stark. Every villain he faced in his solo movies have been about Tony Stark, and so this was the first time where it was about Peter, and that's one thing that made No Way Home so good.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah, man. That's truly my one gripe about my biggest gripe, I should say, about not one, but biggest gripe about Marvel stuff is that they continuously make movies that they could name anything that they choose to name, knowing that we, the comic book fans, know the story. They know. So someone in the writer's room knows. It's like on the finger on the button. They know.
Right.
But then the other writers or someone else, I don't know who else is in there, or someone else decides, the executive decides, like, that's not the direction we're going to go. We're going to instead do this. And it just becomes, instead of changing the name, which could be anything, again, Captain America, shoes versus socks, like, it could literally be, literally be anything.
Right.
They stick with the name Civil War. Wasn't even about the war. Wasn't really even a war, because I wouldn't call one skirmish on the tarmac. I wouldn't call it a war. Any more than I would call Ultron being alive for a week an age. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't necessarily.
That's true. Ultron was alive for like 3 whole days.
Ultron was like, well, I'm here now, and 3 days later was dead. So I don't know if I call it an age either, but he was there and gone. You know what I'm saying? So I wish that they would stop naming this shit things that Ragnarok, things that like have their own distinct, specific stories, and then choosing to then fuck with us, because we would be fine if they would just name this shit Captain America and the Boys. Great. Like that. Like cool. It's a story about Captain America. Iron Man's mad about his dad being killed by Bucky Barnes. That's whatever. We'd be more willing to give less of a shit about the story being something specific if they just would name something else, but they don't. So that's my one gripe about Marvel in general. You
know, I feel that like you and I could go and do this for like another 12 hours before we begin to run out of topics. But you know, I think that we've had a great discussion here tonight. I mean, this has been so much fun for me. Taim, I can't believe it. Again, I apologize for taking so long to finally get you on the podcast. But,
hey man, schedules. We're adults. Schedules hard sometimes, man. I get it.
Listen, kids, adulting is not fun. Like, it's
nah. Stay kids as long as you. And I'm sure if you have any homies that are like 14, 15, you're like, I can't wait to grow up. Please wait.
Yeah,
please wait.
Wait as long as you can.
Enjoy whatever you can get out of it, man. Yeah, please.
Yeah, especially while your body still listens to you.
Bruh. And I want you to know, Q is a whole bodybuilder. Homeboy takes care of his body better than I do mine. And he's telling you right now.
I'm telling you guys, this shit is no fun.
Shit ain't no fun.
Yeah.
Things I could do when I was 14, I couldn't.
Oh my gosh.
In my dreams, I wouldn't think about doing that shit now.
Let me put it this way. Like, over here, like back when, when we were younger, like, hell, even just like 10, 12 years ago, when you would come and hang out at my old apartment, it would be nothing for me to stay up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning bullshitting with you and Kevin. I would go to bed for a couple hours, get up, and go do a fool's day work, and come home and be okay. It's about to be midnight here, and I can still get like a full 7 hours of sleep, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna catch hell tomorrow. Like,
Bro, the amount of times I've come to your bedroom and back in the day when
right.
we used to live, we were younger, live parents, I come over to his house. He had a green, low sitting rocking chair, and I would sit in that joint, and he would go to bed. I'd be playing video games, like Kingdom Hearts, whatever. He'd be like, "I'm going to sleep." He'd go to sleep.
Yeah.
I would be in that chair from the time he went to bed to the time he woke up. He'd be like, "You still playing?" Yeah. I'd be like, "Yeah, what's up, man? What's for breakfast?" I ain't slept a wink, ain't thought about sleeping.
Right. I mean,
then do a whole day of bullshittery with him and Kevin doing whatever the fuck, playing basketball, whatever was like. Now, my nigga,
oh my gosh.
It's 8:00 and I'm yawning. I'm like, all right, that's time for my daily nap. I needed about a nap before I go to work. I'm out there. Bring me 2 Red Bulls and
bro, who you telling? Like, shit is crazy out here, but man, again, Taim, thank you for being on. I gotta have you on again soon. You know what I mean,
bro? Whenever you want, bro. Whenever you want. I got time schedules now seem to be a little more matched up. So whenever you want, you just let me know.
Most definitely,
I'm on
man. But thank you again, brother, for being on, homies. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I know you enjoyed this episode. I know you enjoyed hearing things from yet another POV who, as you guys have just heard, he is very learned in the ways of comic books and superhero content. But that will be all for now. We will see you guys again soon. But homies, until next time, this has been Superhero Homie Taim. My name is Superhero Homie Q. Catch you guys next time.